Everybody, and welcome to the April School Board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move to item 2.1, roll call. Please identify that all members are here. 2.2, is there a conflict of interest that needs to be identified? Hearing none, we'll go to 2.3, review and then approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda.
Motion by Moulton, second by Lohr. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 2.4, approve the minutes of the March 9th meeting. Entertain a motion to do so.
Move that we approve the meeting minutes from last meeting.
Okay, motion by Rossman, second by Rammel. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll receive the financial report for March.
Thank you. In the general fund, we received revenue for the period, which included our regular state aid payment and $34,810 in other revenue, comprised of athletic event receipts and insurance claim reimbursement and a South Dakota Medicaid payment. Expenditures remained moderate, resulting in an ending fund balance of $4.7 million. Capital outlay revenue for the period was moderate, with property tax collections totaling $330,000. Expenditures for the period were $473,000, consistent with planned operational spending. The month-end cash balance was $1.8 million, which remains in line with budgeted expectations and supports ongoing obligations. Special ed revenue for the period consisted primarily of customary property tax receipts and a monthly state aid payment totaling $139,000. The cash balance in this fund is reported at $1.7 million and is below that of the previous year due to the timing of federal reimbursements. K-12 nutrition total revenue for the month amounted to $202,000 and exceeded expenditures during the period. The ending cash balance of $187,000 is higher than the prior year, primarily due to the timing of inventory purchases and related cash outflows. The general fund budget included a potential transfer to support operations for the year. However, that transfer will not be needed this fiscal year. I would also like to share that we received a donation of $4,056 in memory of Sean Engelmeyer, who passed away in February. His wife, Christy, delivered the donation and expressed that she would like it designated to school lunch funds. We are sincerely grateful for this generous gift and extend our heartfelt thanks to the Engelmeyer family. Lake Area Technical College received $3.2 million in state payments, which included the third quarter state aid payment and equipment reimbursements. Other revenue in the amount of $168,000 includes student fees. Total revenue for the month was approximately $4.3 million, which exceeded disbursements of $2.4 million. As a result, the cash balance was $11.3 million and exceeds the previous year. In the Employee Benefit Trust, administrative claims related costs for the month were exceeded by premium revenues, resulting in a net increase to the trust. As a result, the ending cash balance increased by $110,000, resulting in a cash balance of $3.9 million, which is above that of the previous 2 years. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
That takes us to 2.6, student staff recognition.
All
And there's
right.
quite a few.
Got a full house tonight. Awesome. Well, first I'd like to take a moment to recognize one staff member. Watertown has a day of development, and they nominate leaders under the age of 40 in the community of Watertown, and we had one of our very own employees nominated this year, and she was named one of the top 4 under 40 in the city of Watertown, and that is congratulations to Heidi Clausen.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to some student recognition. So when I call you by sport or activity, I'm going to have you come up when I call your name. One of our board members will give you a certificate. got to smile at that camera, and then we'll wait until everybody in your sport or activity is recognized so we can get a group shot. We're going to start with girls wrestling. We had 2 state champions, Allison Conrad and Eden Hawk. Come on up. State runner-up, Olivia Anderson. And earning academic all-state was also Allison Conrad. Congratulations. Go ahead and slide over here. We'll get you in. Way to go. All right, next we'll do some boys wrestlers. 2 state champions, Shay Richter and Gage Lohr. And earning academic all-state were Marcus Pitkin and Kessler Swenson. Stand right here.
Yeah.
All right, next, boys basketball. Earning all tournament team at the state AA tournament were Jackson McClemens and Carter Bisker. And we don't have it yet, but you 2 gentlemen were also named to the AA All-State team, correct?
Thank you.
Bailey has it.
We've got him here.
Sorry, we got them.
Okay, we have Carter's.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Also, got to get back to my page here. Earning academic all-state were Jackson McClemens, Ashton Rabine, and Emery Kranz. Come on up here, we'll get a group shot of the boys basketball players. Now on to girls basketball. Earning academic all-state were Malia Kranz, Layla Meester, and Kinsey Russell. Kinsey, stay here a second. Thanks to the U.S. Postal Service, Kinsey was also recognized for volleyball last month, but she got her letter from me 2 days after the school board meeting. So Kinsey was academic all-state also in volleyball, and were you all tournament team? Mm-hmm. All right, let's give Kinsey a hand for volleyball. I'm glad you made it. Okay, next we'll move on to gymnastics. Earning academic all-state in gymnastics was Ella Palmquist. Okay, we're going to move on to state debate. This was held in March 6th and 7th in Aberdeen, and the National Speech and Debate Tournament will be held in June in Richmond, Virginia. So, congratulations to the following students on their achievements. First, at the state tournament, a quarterfinalist in public forum debate, Hayden Zabrowski. Also a quarterfinalist in public forum debate, Lennon McIntosh. A quarterfinalist in the Lincoln Douglas debate, Whitney Martinson. And earning second place in original oratory, Whitney Martinson.
Place that camera. Yep.
All right.
We have another one.
Oh.
Hang on. I got to announce it first, Gene. All right, this is National Debate, Speech and Debate Tournament, Richmond, Virginia, June 2026. Sunny Rader, National Qualifier in Dramatic Interp. Looks that way. National Qualifier in Original Oratory, Whitney Martinson. And World Schools Debate Team Qualifiers, Lennon McIntosh, Hannah Bartelt, Landon Simon, Maddie Carter, and Hayden Zabrowski.
Smile big, Hannah.
Is he dressed for the play? Yeah.
And Sonny, you would be a better advertisement than my statement later, so if you want to put in a plug for the musical, go ahead.
Mermaid musical this Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to item 3.1, public input on agenda or non-agenda items for LATC. Thanks for coming, guys. Hearing none, we will go on to item 4.1, personnel for LATC.
Couldn't find you.
Yeah, you did.
back there.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
I love a full room. It's good stuff. All right. Tonight I'm going to ask you to look at the blue version of our personnel reports. One quick update that was added today. And we'll start, Mr. President, if you're okay with that, with resignations. We have 5 resignations for your consideration today and would seek your approval as those are presented.
Okay, entertain a motion to accept the resignations.
Move that we approve the resignations as listed.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Rammel. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 4.1.2 resignations.
1.2 would be into contract recommendations. We just did resignations, correct?
Retirements
Yes.
was on there.
Oh, it was. I'm sorry.
So-
Okay, so resignations. Let's do that one.
Okay, yep.
5 resignations for you this evening. 0 retirements. The resignations we would ask for your approval as those are presented.
Okay,
And I'll just keep the same motion for Rossman and Rammel, and then we'll just note that there was no retirements
Oh, I
listed.
see. Okay.
okay, yeah, that's,
Thank
yep.
you.
Sorry.
It was just on there
Yep.
as a placeholder.
Yeah.
So we've taken care of 4.1.2.
Okay.
Let's go to 4.1.3.
Excellent. Before you are a variety of contract recommendations and addendums. Under the top section in your packet, you'll see there's 1 part-time hire up to 30 hours per week in the child care at EduCare, and then 4 full-time staff for your consideration, and then you'll see a list of adjunct instructors for our spring semester, some of the final contracts that came in on that front. So we recommend your approval as those are presented.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the contract recommendations and addendums.
I move that we approve the contract recommendations and addendum as presented.
Okay, motion by Rammel,
Second.
second by Rossman. Questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.1.4, authority to hire.
Thank you. Tonight we're seeking your authority to hire a new staff person at EduCare. This will bring the full-time staff at EduCare from 6 FTE to 7 FTE. This hire, which would be titled EduCare Education Director, would be an expansion for after-school and summer programming at the daycare and would allow us to move from about 92 kids in our care up to more than 130 kids in our care. And so this individual will help with day-to-day operations, compliance, oversee the curriculum in all classrooms at EduCare, and then be the lead on-site person for care for that before, after-school, and summer programming. stand by for any questions you have and recommend that you approve that authority to hire.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the authority to hire the Educare Education Director.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Rammel. Questions or comments?
I just want to thank you guys at Lake Erie for even being willing to have the conversation about expanding those services and putting in the work. Maybe planted the idea, but we didn't do the work, so we really appreciate your guys' willingness to move forward with that.
Absolutely, and big kudos to Cam Corey on our staff for taking the lead and working really closely with Heidi. Thanks for sharing that.
Good.
And I'm just going to share a note on the after-school program. I know Cam had mentioned that the goal is to hire this position, and then from there, once they have it hired and that person is on board, opening some spots for summer care as well as then after-school care for grades 1 through 4. When that all happens, we'll work with Cam to get some marketing out from the district side, and then as well as Educare to share with our families how to register if they're interested. Thank you.
Okay, so we've hit the motion in the second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to 4.2, property.
Very good. We've got quite a lineup for you tonight. Sometimes we just go through the routine motions of operations at the college, but tonight we've got several things for your consideration that really set the stage for the future at the college, and so I appreciate you being willing to have the conversations on all those topics. We'll start tonight with 4.2.1, which is setting the 26-27 fee rates at Lake Area Technical College. Each year about this time, we go through the process where the State Board of Technical Education sets the tuition and state level fees for the coming school year. And this group considers the local fees that make up the entire package of what students pay for their education at Lake Area. This proposal on the local fees considers the actions that the Board of Technical Education took on March 26th at their state level board meeting. Our goal when we're crafting the budget, of course, is to make sure that college is affordable for our students, both in an upfront sense, that the price tag for an overall education is doable, and in line with what it takes to get the full experience and develop skills within that program area. That means that we're covering the costs for our instructors, for contracted services to run that program, for the travel, the supplies and materials needed to operate a hands-on technical program. And we pair that with campus operations that are supported through state aid that's provided from legislative appropriations. So that's kind of the combination of the package that comes together in our conversation tonight. Back in March on the 26th, the State Board of Tech Ed increased state level tuition for next year by $4. So the state level tuition rate in 26-27 will be $134 per credit. They didn't adjust any of the other state fees. And tonight, as we consider or propose to you local fees, we're also proposing that we keep campus fees. So that's our campus support fee and our local maintenance and repair fee unchanged. So $0 change for 26-27. We're also proposing to keep summer program fees level next school year. We'll be setting for the first time program fees for dental hygiene, since we're anticipating that that program will begin next fall. And so we're recommending to you that we set the program fees for dental hygiene at $1,732 per semester, starting for next year. That's equivalent of what a heavy equipment operator and a registered nursing student pay per semester in their fees. All of those are programs that require a lot of materials and supplies to operate. And then we're requesting, as you'll see in your board packet, adjusting fees for 12 programs where we're seeing cost to operate those programs increasing. That might be fuel costs, that might be required software, contracted services to operate the programs. So I always try to boil down to what is the impact to students as we talk about these numbers. Across those 12 programs that we're proposing increases to you all for, the average increase would be $107 per semester per student. And then if we look across the whole package, state level tuition, local fees, The median change for the typical student would be an increase of 2.9% for the 26-27 school year when you look at that whole package. And we believe those are necessary adjustments in line with the recommended budget that we're putting forward to you here in a couple of weeks to cover the costs around insurance, compensation, utilities, supplies, all the things to make sure we have quality education available. All of those changes would take effect as of July 1st, 2026. And in a practical sense, that really means that tuition will change as students enroll in the fall semester coming up, fall of 26. With that, I'll stand by for any questions that you might have.
Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the fee rates for the coming year.
Mr. President, I move we approve the fee rates for 26-27 as explained in detail.
Okay, motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any questions or comments this time? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.2.2.
Thank you. Within your packet, you'll see some information for architectural and engineering design from Co-op Architecture. What we're bringing before you tonight in this agenda item and the next one is a pretty exciting addition and a unique opportunity for our agriculture students on campus that would start next year. Back late in 2025, I believe it was in November, Lake Area Tech received a $229,000 grant from the CHS Foundation to implement a Ag Commodities Risk Management Lab. What does that mean? A lot of universities have a trading room or a trading lab. Lake Area Technical College next year for its Ag program and some related areas, business, financial services, will now have a trading lab on campus. So every student who's enrolled in agribusiness, ag production, and livestock management will have classes where they actively learn to trade commodities and manage the risk that goes with buying and selling in agricultural products. In addition to all of those agriculture students having this hands-on experience now, our business and financial services programs will also be able to schedule classes in that lab with this design work and construction completed. And there will be video conferencing capabilities within that space that will allow anybody, staff, faculty on campus to schedule that for their purposes in communications. It's common at a four-year university within an ag program or a business college to have a trading room. As we looked at two-year colleges that have this opportunity, the closest we could find was in Sheridan, Wyoming. We may have missed one, but pretty thorough research to say there isn't a trading lab at a two-year school that's anywhere close. Success in agriculture now really requires having really solid marketing skills, and think this will be a distinguishing factor for our agriculture program as we move forward. So the item before you, I give you a lot of preface to say the item before you is for architectural and engineering work to get the lab space designed. The space that's identified, if you walk into the 900 building, the Met building just south of Arrow Avenue, it's the first classrooms on the right-hand side as you walk into that building. So one of the first lines of sight that our students and prospective students have for our agriculture program, and it fits within the space that Co-op had identified as part of the Ag Hub for the 2035 Master Campus Plan. The proposal would be a $14,000 design project to make sure that all of the mechanical and architectural elements in that building come together appropriately in the renovated space. So we'll start with that and then can talk about the projected construction process through the authority to bid in the next agenda item. And I should mention that the funds for this are part of our campus improvement budget.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve this architectural and engineering contract.
So moved.
By Lohr,
Second.
second by Moulton.
This
Question?
is rather exciting.
Yes, it is.
Because it gets you into the Chicago Board of Trade, commodities, and it's really crucial to understanding agriculture today. So kudos, excellent
Yeah.
move. I understand it'll have windows so everyone can see what's going on.
That's right. And a ticker running along the back wall.
Super.
I don't think there's very few things that could be as real world to our students as this experience. So that's wonderful. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.2.3, consider authority to bid.
Thank you. So part 2 of this conversation is we need to do the construction to remodel those, what's now 2 classrooms into 1 classroom that'll be about 1,600 or 1,700 square feet. I mentioned that it's at a space where 2 buildings come together. We need to make sure that the construction is done well. And sets us in a path going forward. The CHS Foundation is covering furniture, the technology for that space. Lake Area Tech's campus improvement budget will take care of the construction for this project. It's estimated that it'd be about $200,000 for construction to make this happen. From a timeline perspective, throughout April, they'll do the design work and then let bids at the beginning of May. Bids will come in at the end of May. You can expect us to come back in June for a conversation about which direction to go from a construction perspective. If everything comes together in line, construction would start in June and probably go through September. So we'd have the lab open yet in the fall semester of 2026. And Mr. Iverson, to your real-world experience, I took animal science at South Dakota State University in the fall of 1998, and I still will never forget the mess I made of hog marketing, and I'll do the calculations right anytime going forward.
Okay.
It makes a difference to have that experience.
Yep, that's good. It certainly stuck with you, didn't it?
It
Sometimes those painful things do that. We'll entertain a motion to approve this authority to bid.
I move we consider and approve the authority to bid for the lab.
Okay, motion by Moulton. Second by Laura. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.2.4, consider program addition.
Thank you. The last big item we have for you tonight is consideration of a new program at Lake Area Technical College. For the last couple of years, healthcare administrators in the region have been asking us to consider adding a radiologic technology or an X-ray technician program at Lake Area Tech. And through the conversations we've had with them, we've come to understand that that's an area that has changed pretty drastically over the last several years. It used to be that in rural areas, folks would need to travel to a population center or a large healthcare center in order to have imaging work done. And over time, that has changed. More of that imaging is happening at the local level, so emergencies can be handled quickly and diagnostics can be handled in a timely manner. That means that more technicians are needed in that field. And so the conversations that we've had with industry, we brought a group of about 30 together this last fall from all of the healthcare facilities through central South Dakota, northeast South Dakota, western Minnesota, and had conversations around what would program objectives look like, what would the curriculum structure consist of. And we want to be very mindful. Mitchell Technical College has a very good rad tech program that has been in existence for a long time. We want to make sure that we're able to complement, not compete with that program, especially when it comes to student training and clinicals. And so the conversations that we've had with healthcare administrators has really helped us hone in to make sure we can do just that. And so tonight I come before you seeking approval to move that application forward. With your approval, we would go to the State Board of Technical Education in May and ask for their support for the program. We had 10 different healthcare facilities provide letters of support as we pulled this application together. And with their approval, we could have a rad tech program in place as early as the 27-28 school year. I say as early as because we will need industry support to renovate some existing space on campus and equip that area. So if it takes us a little longer to do the fundraising, the program would be delayed, but we're hopeful that we would be able to have something in place by the 27-28 school year. With that, what questions might you have?
I imagine that was part of the initial conversation, was potentially helping fund that sort of a project then.
It was.
If they also
there are some
needed it.
very passionate healthcare administrators who
Okay.
are interested in helping move that forward.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that some of the larger hospital facilities are actually providing that training on site, and they're even in support of
That's
having
correct.
the training.
There's such a
That's
need.
correct. There's
Okay.
such a need,
Yeah.
yes. USD partners with Sanford and Avera's in-house programs to allow their completers to finish out their bachelor's degree. So it's another area similar to nursing, similar to dental, where there's quite a ladder in place within healthcare to allow that upward mobility as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like they would even be willing to share curriculum,
Yes.
which is really nice. It's awesome.
Did you say how many students you guys would, maybe I
Good
missed that.
question. From an accreditation standpoint, we would look at doing 14 per cohort. So
Okay.
14 in the first year, 14 in the second year, 28 total to start. And if that's something that needs us to expand in the future, we would consider that.
What would the staffing needs be for?
It'd be very similar to our surgical technology program. So we would need a program director who would also have some instructional time within their load. We'd need a clinical coordinator similar to what we have in surgical tech, who also would have an instruction load. And then we'd probably have some adjuncts for clinicals and helping to fill in for ratios in certain situations.
I understand the medical school is shifting in the process out of Vermillion to Sioux Falls, so they'll be a bit closer for help.
So would it be really similar to the Mitchell program, or will there be some differences?
Likely very similar to Mitchell's program. Back in 2022, fall of 22, they expanded their program. They now have capacity for 50 students within their program. But about that time, you might remember that Presentation College closed.
Sure.
And so rural healthcare facilities were expanding their need for imaging technicians, while the education in South Dakota just kind of shifted. So there's still a gap in terms of that need.
So we would try to avoid maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Did you mean by not duplicating, like we wouldn't step on their toes with where we're working for clinicals or what sites?
You captured it
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's enough need for both programs to
Yes.
function. Okay. Good. Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting. It's fun to hear.
I had no idea there was
No.
such a
Yeah.
need either. So that's, yeah. Great
And it's
opportunity.
really impressive how responsive the school is to when industry tells you we need this. Okay, entertain a motion to approve this program addition.
So I move that we consider it adding rad tech to your programming.
Okay, motion by Laura,
Second?
second by Moulton. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. 4.2.5, a faculty or facility lease agreement.
Thank you. The first lease agreement we have for your consideration is a 3-year lease with the city of Watertown for about 2,500 square feet of hangar space. And the lease proposal over those 3 years will be $629 for the hangars. This is for our professional pilot program.
Okay, any questions? Or let's do the motion first. Entertain a motion to approve this facility lease agreement.
I move we approve the lease agreement for the airport hangar.
Okay, motion by Moulton,
Second?
second by Laura. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.2.6, consider equipment lease agreements.
Thank you. We've got 3 pieces of equipment for our heavy equipment operator program before you tonight. The leases are for 3 months each with TransSource, and that would allow our heavy equipment operator students to have experience with an excavator, a 9-tire roller, and a compactor. And as we've discussed in the past, these low-cost lease agreements are just a real help to our students getting experience and keeping the program affordable. The $9,000 that we'll pay for those 3 pieces of equipment over 3 months is in comparison to the $488,000 of value for the equipment that we'll be leasing. So really appreciate TransSource working with us.
I assume that a 9-tire roller is the thing you see on the highway that has just a whole bunch of tires. I had no idea what they were called.
I meant to Google it before I came over and I did not, but my assumption is yours.
Okay. Learn something every day.
Yeah.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve this lease agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreements as explained.
Okay, motion by Lohr,
Second.
second by Moulton. Questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. That brings us to 5.1, public input on agenda or non-agenda items. And I believe we have someone, Senator Bill Howard.
Thank you. Just introduce myself real quick for those that may not know me. I'm Glenn Dilhauer. I'm the senator from District 5 here, which is Watertown, the few surrounding townships. I'm finishing up, or this is my second session, which finished up 2 weeks ago today on, call it Veto Day. And I can tell you it was a challenging session for many regards. One being just the sheer volume of the number of bills that we had to consider. We had around 600 bills that were introduced, which is the most since 1998. That tells you that there was a lot of stuff that came our way. Of those 600 bills, about 240 actually crossed the finish line and were signed by the governor. So you can see a lot of them fall by the wayside along the way. And I guess I like to say that we did enough damage for another year and they send us home, and now we have to live with the things that we did or didn't do out in Pierre. And I guess I've been around a couple years now and have watched the process, and I got to believe the public education system in general in the state kind of holds this collective breath every year as we begin our work out in Pierre. There are many bills introduced. I couldn't even tell you how many. Maybe Dr. Danielson, you would know how many bills were introduced this year that dealt with education in some fashion. I'm just going to hit on a few that I think probably got a lot of play, a lot of publicity. First one I'll touch on, which ended up being relatively good news, and that's the 1.4% increase that the big three did get, and that includes school funding. Not a huge increase, but considering that back when the governor presented his budget address back in early December, there was no increase being proposed. Things turned around a little bit as far as some projections, as far as revenues coming in. I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and we took a hard look at a number of different areas, cut some funding in areas that we didn't think was necessarily needed. So as a result, we were able to get the 1.4% funding. So again, not a large percentage increase, but it does help. So I was pleased that we were able to get something to the big three coming out of this session. Obviously, property taxes, dominated the conversation almost from start to finish out in Pierre. Now, that doesn't directly affect you, but it directs the mechanics of how you get your money. And a couple of bills did cross the finish line that hopefully, owner-occupied properties will receive somewhat of a benefit as far as property tax. So I'm not going to get into it because, like I say, it doesn't directly affect your funding, just a matter of how you get your funding allocated to you. Something that did pass across the finish line after, I think this was the fourth attempt, and that was the free and reduced free school lunches. I got to give Representative Caden Whitman down in Sioux Falls credit for that. I think this is the fourth year she brought that bill forward. This year it got some traction. There was a few people in the Senate that really went to bat. We as appropriators rejected it. I voted in favor of it, but it got rejected, but it got what's called smoked out on the Senate floor, and as a result we got it passed and the governor signed it. And we talk about the dollars involved. It's about $600,000 out of a $2.5 billion general fund budget. So we're talking about 0.2% is what that amounts to. So and I had so many Republican colleagues of mine the last couple of years say, why don't we pass this thing? So it's not a political issue, it's not a financial issue. It just makes sense. We want to send our kids to school in an environment that they're able to learn, and that includes making sure that they've got adequate nutrition as they go about their day. So that was one that I was glad to see passed. There were several bills that I'm going to just kind of rattle off here pretty quickly that did not pass, and I got to say I voted against every one of them that did not pass. One was a charter school bill that was defeated. Was in communication with Dr. Danielson throughout this debate as far as what it would mean to Watertown K-12 system. It was a significant amount, and I think that school districts across the state would have seen that. It was touted as being a public education, form of public education, which, yes, it was, but there was no doubt about it that it was taking dollars away from the public education that we're discussing tonight. There were 3 bills. The same bill came back 2 different times after it got defeated the first time, dealing with opt-outs, just tying school district hands relative to opt-outs. And to me, it was not the right approach. They were all designed again to try to save to property tax dollars. But the same bill came before us 3 different times and got defeated all 3 times. And I'm going to hit on a common theme after I hit a couple more bills here. Senate Bill 198, the cell phone bill. I hate cell phones. I think they ought to be banned, but I did not feel that was our position as legislators to be telling individual school districts what they had to do. It's my understanding you've got a pretty good system already in place here in Watertown, that it wasn't our job to be telling all the districts across the state, because I think by and large most of them have already put some structure in place that does eliminate or helps reduce the disruptions caused by cell phone. Another one that I voted against, the Parental Bill of Rights bill. In theory it sounds great, but I tell you what, I had a number of educators, first responders, medical people that said, no, this is not a good bill. It sounds great. We want to give the parents every right to know what's going on. But also, it was also a bill that potentially put the safety of children at risk here. And that to me was paramount in my decision. I voted against it. It went through the Senate, and it was killed over in the House. So I was glad to see that bill go by the wayside. And the common theme that these last several bills that I mentioned is we as legislators trying to take local control away from those that know best. And I'm talking school boards, city councils, county commissioners. The last couple of years have been a proliferation of bills that would have taken control away from those that are closest to the action, and that is not our job as legislators, in my opinion. And so that was something that was disturbing, disappointing. But I think by and large we did a pretty good job in the legislature of killing a lot of these bills that just had no place within what they were designed to do. Another bill that was disappointing to me, Dr. Sanderson was just up here, that was House Bill 1202. That was the Lake Area Tech Trade Center project bill that would have provided some funding, or $5.2 million of funding for the Trade Center project. That didn't make it out of the House. It was a House bill. I have to give Representative Matt Roby credit. He fought for that one over in the House. Didn't get enough support. It would have taken a 2/3 vote to pass. So I was hoping it would have made it across, at least got out of the House, so we would have had a chance to debate it in the Senate, but that did not happen. So hopefully going forward, maybe the governor, whoever the governor may be next go around, specifically put something in the budget for this, make it a little bit easier to come to fruition. But that was disappointing that we could not get that one, any funding for that project. It's always kind of it's fun out in the legislature when somebody from your hometown gets recognized. And I look at Dr. Danielson. He was recognized as one of the outstanding educators this past session. And also Whitney Martinson was a page. I sponsored her as a page on the Senate floor. So it was a treat having her out there for, she drew the short straw. It was only a 1-week session that she was able to be a page. But it was neat having her out there. I've used this description in the past, and I'll say it again, so it's probably getting kind of old. But I got to tell, the legislative session is a lot like watching sausage being made. You throw a lot of stuff together and hope that something good comes out the other end. So I like to think, by and large, this session was successful in that regard. But again, it was challenging. But we got our work done. We're kind of a unique state in that we we meet for 38 days and send us home, and we're done for the year. Some states, their legislatures meet the entire year round, and no, not a good way to govern, in my opinion. So it's an honor to serve out there. And so with that, I'll shut up for now. If there's any questions that you might have, but thanks for allowing me some time tonight to come before you.
I appreciate your update on the bills, and appreciative of the 1.4%. I mean, that was, when things started, it looked like it was going to be the goose egg.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a lot of work, and a lot of you put a lot of effort into bumping that number up,
Yeah.
and it is appreciated.
If that's it, I'll take my seat, and thanks again for letting me
Appreciate
appear
it.
tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
and
Glenn.
Thanks.
Thanks to Senator Billhauer and our reps too. We've been able to have good working relationships with our legislators since I've been in Watertown, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That brings us to 5.2, Northeast Technical High School report.
Yeah, quick turnaround. Tax day on Wednesday. We have our Northeast Tech board meeting, 5:45.
That brings us to 5.3, the ACT update. That's Mrs. McClemens.
Good evening, everybody. So as you all probably remember, the high school traditionally has given the Smarter Balance, which is the same test that we give in grades 3 through 8 in our district. And we used to always give it to also grade 11. And so the state has now shifted to the ACT, but the ACT is not what we know it to have been in the past. It is now the enhanced ACT. So I'm going to share some of those changes with you because as some of you are past educators, you probably remember the old ACT, or if you've had children take the ACT, you probably had them come home and go, oh, that was long and whatever. So they have made some positive changes to the ACT that I think we saw the benefits of as kids were walking out of the ACT this year in regards to that. So it is called the Enhanced ACT, so you'll hear that language now more often than just the ACT. The old ACT, you might have heard of it as the Legacy ACT or just ACT. So those kind of words will be interchangeable. And so as far as the Enhanced ACT, I'm kind of thinking about this as it in terms of children and students that we have in school, it will be more streamlined for them. We have quite a few students that do take the ACT. A lot of those students are students that are college-bound students, primarily are the ones that were taking the ACT, whether they were going for the Opportunity Scholarship, which is one of those scores that they're going for that Opportunity Scholarship, or they were looking for scholarships at colleges, that sort of thing. But the ACT or the pre-ACT or the 8-9 ACT, which I'll share a little bit about, those also are indicators too of our college and career readiness, which also does play a role in our school report card. So our district has done the 8-9 pre-ACT and the pre-ACT. And so one thing our juniors going into the ACT had, which I felt like was an advantage to many of the students in South Dakota that we had that some of them didn't have, was we did do the pre-ACT and we did do it online. And so that was not a new thing for them to be able to kind of mimic that and have that practice of it being online last year. We also did not run into a lot of tech issues because of that, where other schools were going, oh, you have to download a secure browser? What's that? What's it called? You know, so as we were doing these webinars all year long, some of the questions that were being asked, I know Mr. Barros and I were at these, we were just kind of like shaking our heads like, that's kind of old news, because we'd done it last year. And so we had a lot of the kinks worked out. And so ours was pretty seamless. And so one of the things that it does do, it does kind of eliminate some of that redundancy for some of our students to have to take the Smarter Balance and the ACT and some of these other assessments. And so it's kind of giving that one test from the Smarter Balance to the traditional ACT and some of the other tests that we do give. We do offer the SAT to students too. I don't remember the exact number, but it was kind of a record number this year of students that did take the SAT test this year. So that was nice to see. So we'll be thinking of the enhanced ACT, and that's a universal test now for all of our juniors. And I don't see that changing on the state side from everything that we've gotten through the webinars and all the training that we've done. We did training pretty much all year up until even into that first testing window. They did road shows, we did webinars all year long. Mr. Barrios attended, I attended, and then our test coordinators, we brought them into that as well. So it was really a concerted team effort, kind of all hands on deck, so that we all knew what all the working parts were and what everybody had for responsibilities. It is administered to 100% of Watertown High School juniors. Now we have that population that take the alternative assessment. That would be our students that have some cognitive disabilities, that it would be highly not appropriate for them to take that. And so they have a different assessment. So all students are testing. They just are taking the test that is most appropriate for them based on if they have an IEP and that sort of thing. It does allow them to reclaim some time. Smarter Balance took several days to give. We had two options, really. You can test the ACT over a 2-day option, which has not ever been the case. If you took an ACT on a Saturday, you were there all day Saturday. We had the option of a 1-day or 2-day. We went with a 1-day. And so we started testing a little before 9. You have to start before 9 o'clock. We had students arriving at 8:15 to check in. We made sure that if they had their own calculator, you have to make sure they're cleared, that they're not programmed with anything. However, there is a built-in calculator within the system that most students decided that that's what they were going to use. It did do all the functions that they needed to do. So they were able to do that, but if they brought their own, there is a recommended list. We sent that list out to parents. Students were made aware of that. We did a lot of coaching with that within our advisory and our math classes and that sort of thing. So we didn't have to sacrifice extra instructional days as well to more testing days for students as well. So we really felt, we did survey staff afterwards to kind of get a feel for how did the kids do with testing fatigue, what things could we do to improve the experience for them, what kinds of things more could we do to prepare them. And there's all sorts of things coming out. As you can imagine, I probably get emails every day. All these companies, that's kind of, they're grabbing on, they're all going to sell a product and whatnot. But the state of South Dakota does have some things built in that are free for us that we are looking into. And of course, I am looking at different things, and the departments are also working on things as well that we're doing that I'll share. I could probably move us along here. There we go. As well as between the legacy and the enhanced ACT, the biggest changes that we see is with the legacy the legacy ACT. It was a longer test, and so they have shortened the test, not only in the number of minutes but also in the number of items that kids have to do as far as testing questions. So you're getting more time to complete the items, but there are lesser questions. So that seems to be a big advantage for kids. In the past, kids kind of had to really, you still have to pace yourself, but not like at the rate they used to have to. Like you kind of figured, I got about 25 seconds per question, and they really had to kind of book through that. And they really felt rushed at the end with that. I'm just kind of gonna, I have a little cheat document up here that the state put out to kind of give you an idea on this. So there's 44 questions across the exam that are fewer on the enhanced. And then on the math, I should put a little note here for you. 5 options per questions, and on this is math only. There was always 5, but they have reduced that to 4. So just so you know, that's just math only. So just to kind of, I won't go through all of it, but English used to have 75 items. It's down to 50. So 25 questions less is quite a significant amount. Math, there was 60. Now there's 45. Okay. This is just off a resource from the state website. There's still 1 writing prompt. Science stayed the same at 40. Those are just some examples of how that has changed for them. So I think the kids especially the ones that have taken the ACT before, they liked having less questions and more time to take the time on that.
And do those totals reflect only the language arts and math?
On the next one, on this one right here.
Yes.
Yes. For the totals, yes.
Yes.
Now, when you add up, if you're a math person, which I'm more of an ELA person, when you add up the items, if you're really, really quick at it, you're going to know that that item column does not equal 131. Did you get that as a social studies teacher? Did that come to you really quick? I know you're kind of a quick one. But they have some items in there that are just test items. And so they're testing questions. And so some of those items will not be figured into the score. And so that's why there's a few extra questions, okay? And so as they are testing some of those questions, some will be thrown out, but they will not include the test items in the overall score. Okay. That threw me for a little bit too, but then I had to, reading charts. That is that's a good skill too when you're doing the ACT as well. So, and then I have a breakdown there for you for the number of minutes that you have for each of those areas as well. We do, like if you go to take an ACT for the national testing on a weekend, students can opt whether they're doing the science and the writing part, but for the state testing, we do all the parts. And so I found two, so that you get a STEM score when you're doing that science part, and students do very well on that science test, and it really does help their test overall, their test scores anyways. So how are we preparing them for this? There's a lot of different things. It's kind of a multifaceted. I don't think you can take a one thing approach when you're preparing for the ACT. We started talking about this last year when we were giving the pre-ACT and the 8-9 ACT. I was really reaching out to other schools. What are you doing? And I was pretty adamant that we do the 8-9 ACT and the pre-ACT, but you can't just give it and not do anything with it. So that's what we chose to really dig into with our data. And so I didn't put on any of this on the slides, but we spent our September in-service, a significant part of it, and showed our teachers how to, I gave them access to it, how to go in and create reports so that you could go in and do the item analysis for each of those areas. And so when you're looking at English, you're looking at the production of writing, the knowledge of language, and the convections of standard English. And so you can break it down by each of those and look at the whole group together as to how they're doing as a group. But then you can go in and look at each individual student as well. And so we did that. I showed them how to do that, but then I went ahead and had that report with them as well. So I wanted to create some efficacy within the teacher realm because we want them to be able to build that. And then at the same sense, like, here's what it looks like after you've built it. Now what are we going to do with it? And what kind of professional conversations are we going to have around that? And then how can we use that throughout the year as our students are changing, because we get new students that semester, or if you have a quarter class, that English component, that falls into play with our social studies, because there's writing standards in our social studies. It comes into play with our science, because everybody's reading in science, as they are in any other content area too. So there was not a content area that was excluded from the data, because there is not a core area or a curriculum area that doesn't. They're all readers. They're all teaching of reading. And so everybody needs to be accountable for being aware of those things. So we started working on this all of last year, and that's what our data dig is at the beginning of the year, and then you revisit that as you get going. And so my goal for next year then is, this is a continuous thing that we're looking at, and now we'll have the ACT scores to look at too. So we should have every grade level that we can look at in terms of ACT, pre-ACT, those types of scores. So it will break it down for you in those areas, as well in math, preparing for higher math, number and quantity, algebra, functions, geometry, statistics, integrating essential skills, and then the modeling part. And then these are all shared with staff too. And then the reading, the key details, crafting structure, integration of knowledge and ideas. And then the science will list those as well. And so one of the things that South Dakota My Life, which that's been around for a long time, but they have incorporated, it's a search engine in it that's called Methodize, and that is all centrally around the ACT. And so each student has their own account, and it will keep track of their progress within Methodize, that will track their progress on a lot of those ACT skills. Anywhere from a question of a day, so our classroom teachers can use that. We can incorporate it within our advisory. There is simulations within there that our classroom teachers can use as well, that will help students and give them feedback on their pacing, how they're doing on those testing. If you would like to do a shorter test, if you want to do a full test, that sorts of things. And so we're hoping to use that. We dabbled in it this year just to kind of learn about it. And Mrs. Thomas and I have been doing a lot of the webinars. Our counselors, they've been doing training with it too, so that can be scheduled within our advisories next year. And then I've been looking at some other resources as well that we're going to pull in to there. State's been doing a good job also of sending us different resources. It's just customizing for what looks best for our students as well at each grade level, because I think we need to build it for each grade level. You don't want to kill them with it over 4 years, but you just want to incrementally give that to them throughout those years. So that's our plan with how do you prepare them. It is a multi-approach, because our classroom teachers, our English teachers, they practice writing prompts through ACT type style writing, and they teach them how they do that, how they assess it. They talk about how do you pre-write for that, and so they really walk them through it. Science is really dug into how do you, kids struggle with reading like charts and graphs and all of that informational text and things like that. So they're really digging into that, and so our next in-service, that's one of their goals that they're doing. Language Arts has done kind of an item analysis on where they've been low on different standards, and so they're looking at ACT questions that we've been low at, and then they're using that correlation on how can we have that naturally, so you don't have to go up and go, we're working on an ACT question today, so it's just integrated into the practice. And then same with math, whether it's a bell ringer or just a daily question that's in there within the unit that they're working on. If we're low on statistics, which happens to be one of our higher levels, but areas that we're low in. So we're trying to integrate those things within so that we're hitting on them all the time. So it's just not a one and done, it's just a continuous. This is just a graphic for you. I won't go into great detail, but obviously when you go from an ACT that's given to juniors that are choosing to do it to a test that all juniors are required to take it, We have kind of that state average of what the ACT has been. We have our district average of where we have been. Statistically, it will tell you that there will be a change in those scores. When visiting with the state and going to their different trainings, they will tell you there will be a 1 to 3% drop, give or take. And so we'll get that baseline this year, and then they also they have a work group that's going to be working, and they will be coming up with a value similar to Smarter Balance, a 1, 2, 3, 4. And so they're gonna figure out how they're going to do that. So like an 18 on the AC might equate to a 3. They kind of set out a sample, but it was kind of rough sample, I will tell you. I think they have to look at all the scores across the state. Some scores have started coming through. I will tell you, I was talking to one of the principals. Testing window 2, some of those scores are in. I have not seen scores for us yet. We were testing window 3, so they anticipate those to be in May here for sure. So I'll be anticipating to kind of look at those.
And that would just be the individual. The aggregate stuff is
Yeah.
probably not until the usual
Yes.
like fall.
Right, because even the work group isn't meeting till June. So that is, and I think that'll be interesting to see where they put their cut scores for that. So that's just the historical data to figure out where they're going to have their baseline and then how they're going to do those cut scores. But one of the questions I've had from a few people is, will this be on their transcript? And the state is saying it is a state testing. It is a state test, so it will be on their transcript. Now, if they choose to take it on a Saturday, they can choose whether or not that will be on there or not, but the state test will be on their transcript. So it can be used for their super scores if they take that ACT again. So those can be figured in. And then as far as the positive impact of the ACT, you know, I think kids are reclaiming some of their time back, not taking as many tests. I feel like our juniors, and the teachers said this too, they came in, they were on time. We had under 10 kids absent that day, which is phenomenal. I think it ended up being at 7 or 8 because 2 kids just weren't ready that day. They were here and they just were very honest and just said, I'm just not ready. I need to do it on a makeup day. And given their situation, it was a better testing situation for them, so we did them on a makeup day. And a couple had doctor's appointments they've had for months, and so we just worked with them. And so we had a very high percentage completion rate, very low absent rate. So I really thank parents for that commitment. We sent messaging out asking to avoid appointments, all of that. So kudos to the parents on that. ACT on a weekend, you're going to pay about $90. It is free to all students. So that is another really big advantage to kids as well. And then we just really tried to coach the students. We had an assembly. We talked to them about it. Just kind of how you go in with your attitude, and the other thing is because of how you have to set it up in the classrooms, it ended up being small groups of kids because you have to be 3 feet apart, shoulder to shoulder. Our tables are 5 feet apart, so that'll tell you only had 15 in a classroom. And those smaller class sizes, I think, creates a very low anxiety type testing situation. So it worked out very nice, I think, for the students. And we released them after that for that day, and it really turned out nice. We provided a snack, something for them in the morning. They had 2 breaks. They got done about 1:15, and we just really kind of hyped them up and tried to give them some positives going into it and that sort of thing. So that was a really good thing. That same day we had pre-ACT going on. We had a freshman kind of a freshman organized day. We brought a speaker in from Vermillion who had a life tragedy from distracted driving. So we had a really good lesson for a freshman that day, and We had a donor step up and pay for some activities for our kids. So we were out at the ice skating rink, we were out at the National Guard Armory, we were at the bowling alley, we were here doing all sorts of different things. Our P department really organized a bunch of different things. And we had a homework room for any seniors that were behind so that we could make sure they're graduating, and then some freshmen that were a little bit behind so we can keep them on grade level. And so it was a very busy day, but it was super productive, and so I just really appreciated the cooperation of everybody to make that happen. And kudos to our teachers, because we couldn't do it without them, and they were outstanding. So that's what I have for you. If you have any questions, I would gladly answer them. There's a lot of rules to ACT, so if you get to the really fine one, I will Google it. No, I will do the best I can.
I'm noticing the educational and occupational plans, the interest inventory scores. Is that just figured in as they're answering questions, or do they take a separate inventory?
So it kind of gives them estimate. Are you talking about like their?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So you guys, I kind of slipped that in for you.
Okay.
That's what the kids are going to get.
Okay.
Kind of as a sample of their ACT. So it kind of gives them what their college and career readiness, because that's part of our report card, like where they might end up if they took the NCRC, which we're not giving that anymore because it's not figured as in our report card score anymore. But it does help with earning the endorsement on their transcript. And so it can give them some information. We do career interest inventories on South Dakota My Life. We do their personal learning plans on South Dakota My Life, and they do career exploration on South Dakota My Life. So that might help guide them to some of those areas they want to explore. Yep.
Do we know what % of our students previously took the ACT? We don't have that on.
I believe we could find that out. Like I have the numbers probably. Yeah.
That's all right.
I'd have to do some digging on it, but I mean that's something I could.
Yeah, I'm just
get.
curious. I love the universal access and the equity piece of it being an opportunity for all students to have the chance.
Yeah.
Prior to this, I guess this is something I'm just completely unaware of. Was there financial assistance available for students who could not, maybe if they were economically disadvantaged, to help them cover the cost of an ACT?
Do you know that?
I don't think so.
I don't
No,
think
so
there
this
is.
was
I think it
really
was
a
on their
huge
own,
thing.
because it was the school did not support it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we hosted, but we did not support it from it was because
Yeah.
it was still an individual choice to take it. So
Sure. And I mean, here you say
an
it's
ACT as a national organization,
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
not
it's
think has
expensive.
$90 a student.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. Just that piece
Yeah.
alone, that it's something that the state has prioritized.
And students, they still get accommodations. ACT has a little stricter accommodations, but we apply for them, and then they let us know which ones they will accept. So
Great.
they're pretty quick to get back to you and all of that. So we didn't run into very many issues with that as well. So yeah.
Any idea of how many kids are gonna continue to take the Saturday test or to take the traditional one?
Well, so one thing, I haven't talked to you about that yet, but one thing I think we could entertain is we give one in April, but I do know a couple schools that opened it up to have that be a test site that same day because you were already giving it. So we could open it up for a group to take it that day and not do it in April then. I do believe it impacted our April numbers because April is usually a big number for juniors.
Sure.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I would
do
bet,
it.
based off the number of students who would take it multiple times, that you might have the same percentage of that our old percentage was,
Yeah.
might be what
To
you
do it
think
again, yep.
might
Yeah.
do it again, depending on what their results are.
Yeah. And there are some seniors that are, like a point or two away from the Opportunity Scholarship or something. They would come in and take it. So some schools offered that as an option because of that. Because they had a few that just really needed to take it an extra time to see if they could boost it a point or two. So,
You mentioned that there will be a work group in June and they'll be setting cut scores.
Mhm.
Help me understand a little bit about that process. Why would the cut score not already be set for this cohort?
They need to have all the scores in so they can just determine like where we're at as a state.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they do it statewide.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll look at all the state scores. What's the state average, where,
Yeah.
all of that.
And those cut scores will determine proficiency in each of these areas.
Yeah, kind of like the smarter balance.
Yeah.
Are they a 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah.
Okay. And then that will that probably is what influences the scores that the Opportunity Scholarship needs as well.
Opportunity will be straight.
That'll be the
The
same
18, 24, the 30.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then another question, I heard you say Watertown they could have done it over 2 days and we selected 1 day. What was kind of the determining factor for that? Was it mostly scheduling or?
No, so a lot of the schools that did 2 days were smaller schools. Most of the bigger schools did 1 day.
Yeah.
There's just there's so many rules. It just makes it a lot more challenging to be able to do that in terms of scheduling.
Just
and
wasn't
that
sure if
sort of
there's
thing.
data that shows if one is, if they
Mhm.
score better if it's spread out over 2 days or if they,
Well, there
maybe
probably
there's-
wouldn't be any because
Yeah.
traditionally the ACT
the Saturday
was.
is on one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that data
Yeah.
exists anywhere. Yeah.
And they started a little before 9,
Sure.
and we had 2 little breaks,
Mhm.
and we were done by 1:15.
Yep.
That's not too bad, and we served lunch right afterwards for those that wanted it. So I feel like in a teenage world,
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty decent day for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad.
Well, you run into all kinds of problems if you go 2 days with the kid who is here the first day and
Right.
not the second,
Yeah,
and then you
more
beef up
risk.
the school schedule for 2
Yeah.
days.
I
So-
think the attendance spoke to some of that,
Yeah.
that it was,
Yeah, it was
somewhat
well.
successful.
Yeah.
So here's an ACT rule. If you did it 2 days, if they're here day 1 and they don't show up day 2, it's a non-completer.
Sure.
Sure.
So that for alone,
Yeah.
I think it has to be 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm not willing to risk the non-completer for just, if I'm sick on Tuesday and we start yeah.
I would think they'd be more mentally prepared for the 1 day.
Just
Yes.
hammer
Yeah.
it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of kids that were lining up at 8:15 told me like they were ready.
Mhm.
They were ready, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work and preparation on this.
Yeah.
I know it was a big shift,
Yeah.
speaking from the state level.
Yep,
So the legacy ACT, just to clarify, that's still given?
yeah, yep, and so those will, because they can choose the science, to take the science or the writing or not.
Oh, they can take a component, okay.
Mhm. Yep,
And so will colleges and universities accept the enhanced
Yes.
ACT score?
yes, yep,
Excellent.
yeah.
You talked about the pre-ACT
Mhm.
that sophomores give, and teachers have access to that data too,
Yeah, they all have accounts and they all have access to it, so.
so they can look at individual students. and
Yes.
Analysis and so on.
Yep, and they
Super.
can break it down by skill, they can break it down by groups of people, they can look at just the skill for all kids together, so there's a lot of ways to do it. I was looking for a class, okay, somebody teach me how to do it, but you just gotta dig in it and learn it
Mhm.
and do it. So that's what we spent, I just taught them how to do the reports, and then I had the report in a link because some people just get frustrated with it too, so I did not want that to hold them up with having the data, but I wanted them to know
Mhm.
how to do it too.
Good.
So they've got all the information for that.
Sounds as if this is gonna be even more in-depth and better information than
Yeah.
Smarter Balance.
I think so too. I think it's gonna be more relevant
Yeah.
for where we're at here at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smarter Balance was always kind of a dark hole. You didn't really know what we were testing.
Yeah, yep,
It was kind of iffy.
yeah,
So we give a couple other tests that students can elect. You mentioned the SAT,
yep,
because if you're going way out of state, you're taking that.
yep.
Do we get any scores on that or
Yes.
information?
Yep, and there are 3 students, I believe, that got invited to go on to that next level. It's quite a process,
Yeah.
and they are, one elected not to do it, but they're filling out all the paperwork for the next So we have a bunch that we fill out and certify, they have what they have to do. And then there's recommendations that a teacher has to do, and
Yeah.
then you submit it, and then you wait and see.
It's complicated.
Yeah, but it's worth it. I mean, it's.
It is, particularly if you're going
Yep,
Ivy League or what, yeah.
yep. And then another thing that they're doing that we opted in to do is they're doing like a rising scholar for the pre-ACT
Yeah,
in the 8-9. So we'll be able to do a way to honor kids that are reaching certain plateaus or
Mhm.
levels with that we can do some honoring with that with them. So I
Excellent.
think that will act as a motivator with that.
excellent idea.
Yep.
We also give the PSAT, which is, student can choose to take through
Mhm.
National Merit Scholar.
Yep.
Do we
And
get
then the
background
ASVAB, some
information
things like
data
that.
from that at all? That's helpful?
Does that come to
I don't-
PSAT? I don't know that. Jean, I'm not sure on that, but
Yeah.
I can certainly look into that one for you.
I mean,
Yeah,
we gave it for years, and we quit giving it, now we're giving it again, which is good, because
yeah.
National Merit Scholar is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent information, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
you bet.
thank you.
Yeah, if you have anything else, just let me know.
Thanks, Mr. Clements.
Yep.
Thank you. That takes us to 5.4, first readings of policies.
Okay, we have a couple that have been edited and then 4 that are simply review. The first one is the curriculum review process. There were enough changes there that we just went ahead and struck the old one and put in the new one. I did make the grammatical change as noted.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. That's IGF, and then parenting or parent involvement in Title I, changing the title to parent and family engagement in Title I, and those updates are just to conform with the most recent Title I regs. So, and then IHCA summer school, no change, review only. IHCDA post-secondary options, current enrollment. And I would note, we are not recommending changes, but we did run it through with the lens of, since it was last revised, it was pre-state dual credit programming, and we feel comfortable that any of that programming would fit under here, so then did not feel the need to make any edits. IHHB, teacher assistant team, review only. And then IIB, elementary school class size. I would emphasize on this, we pointed to this policy throughout the 2 years of study on our elementary reorganization. I know there were some worries that maybe we would be addressing this, and we are still recommending keeping those limits to class sizes at the K-6 level. At 23 for grades K3 and 26 for grades 4-6. No changes to
No
that.
change.
So if I see, or anyone else sees any further edits, we can just contact you.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to action items. 6.1, approval of the bills. Entertain a motion to approve the bills for
I
this
move
month.
we approve the bills.
Motion by Lore,
Second.
second by Moulton. Questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6.2, personnel.
Start with retirements. We've got 5 retirements on there for your consideration.
And that's the green sheet, correct?
Correct.
Yep, on the green sheet there. Would recommend the approval of those, and then do those individuals for their years of service to the Watertown School District.
I move that we approve the retirements as listed.
Okay.
Second?
Motion by Rammel, second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? I would also thank these people for their many, many years of service. Much appreciated.
Yeah, that's a great group there.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to 6.2.2, resignations.
Yes, a list of resignations there. We just recommend your approval on those.
Okay?
Reminder, extracurriculars are pending suitable replacement.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the resignations.
Move that we approve the resignations as listed on the green sheet.
Motion by Rossman,
Second?
second by Rammel. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to 6.2.3, authority to hire.
Two authority to hire proposals here for you. One, a special education instructor, and also a resource coordinator. Both of those sheets are attached. This resource coordinator, that would be a district-wide position to help essentially find resources and work with families district-wide. Our family support specialist positions end with that grant at the end of the school year, and so this position would be kind of in lieu of that in those positions there. So we recommend your approval of those.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the authority to hire.
I move that we approve the authority to hire as listed.
Motion by Rammel,
Second?
second by Rossman. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to 6.2.4.
Quite a list here. We're in the thick of personnel season. A lot of teaching positions, coaching positions, different stipends for our or apprenticeship program that we do with Paris to Teacher, and some different activities. So we'll recommend your approval of those.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve these contract recommendations and addendums.
I move that we approve the contract recommendations and addendums as listed on the green sheet.
Okay, motion by Rossman,
Second?
second by Rammel. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to property, 6.3.1.
Yes, this is a contract with Connect Teletherapy. Connect Teletherapy will provide direct and indirect occupational therapy services for assigned students for approximately 12 weeks at an hourly rate of $100 per hour.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve this contract.
I move we approve the contract for teletherapy.
Motion by Moulton,
Second?
second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6.3.2, consider surplus resolution computer bid.
It is recommended to approve the surplus bid received from Tech Reboot in the total amount of $114,260. In the event that Tech Reboot fails to meet the requirements of the bid by May 13th, 2026, it is further recommended that the board accept the next highest responsible bid from Second Life Mac in the amount of $87,383.
Okay, entertain a motion to do so.
I make a motion to approve the surplus computer bid as explained.
Okay, motion by Lohr,
Second.
second by Moulton. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6.4, approve South Dakota High School Activity Association membership resolution.
Yes, this is our annual school board resolution authorizing membership in the South Dakota High School Activity Association. This would be for the 26-27 school year.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the membership resolution.
I move we approve membership in South Dakota Activities Association.
Motion by Moulton,
Second?
second by Lohr. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6.5, second reading of policies.
No changes to any of those from first reading, so recommend all four for your approval, one at a time.
One at a time. Yep, I was afraid you were going to say that again. 6.5.1, the job sharing in teaching positions. Entertain a motion to approve this policy.
I move we approve GCGC.
Motion by Lohr,
Second.
second by Moulton. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6.5.2, GCGC-A, job share proposal. Entertain a motion to approve this policy.
I move we approve job share proposal.
Motion by Moulton,
Second?
second by Lohr. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to 6.5.3, IGBG, homebound instruction. Entertain a motion to approve this policy.
I move we approve homebound instruction.
Motion by Lore,
Second.
second by Moulton. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6.5.4, IHAMA, teaching about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Entertain a motion to approve this policy.
I move we approve IHAMA, teaching about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco.
Motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Lore. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6.6, calendar update. Dr. Danielson.
Okay,
Don't jinx it.
I'm about to jinx us, everybody. Each year, when we build our calendar, we have 2 built-in snow days. So meaning our typical length is 180 days. That includes the staff days, parent-teacher conference days, all of that. We build in 2 extra so that the first 2 snow days would not be made up. We have called 0 snow days thus far. And there was 1 early dismissal day when we did not end up having students, but the staff still came, so we counted that as a day. So the recommendation is the previous calendar, the adopted calendar, had us ending on Friday, May 22nd with a 12:30 dismissal. Recommendation for the calendar proposal or update is to end now on Wednesday, May 20th with a 12:30 dismissal. The caveat being, should we still have snow days, we would add them back one at a time. But it is April 13th, and so thus I think we need to at least make an overture so people know what we're thinking. So you may consider that a recommendation for the calendar change.
Okay, would someone like a motion to approve this calendar update, this calendar change?
I move we approve the new calendar update.
Okay, motion by Lore,
Second.
second by Moulton. Any questions, comments? It's a lot easier to go this way than the other way.
Well, people like you better, I know that.
That's, yeah.
Except if we have to add them back.
Yep. If he has to add
All
it back.
right,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Okay, all in favor of changing the calendar?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I would bring, if by chance, we have the budget session on the 27th and then the May 13th board meeting, which gets a little late, so, or May 11th board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Wishful thinking here.
And then no open enrollments or 132810s for your consideration tonight.
Okay. 7.1, administrative reports.
Yes, as mentioned before, the young man with the blue hair, much better endorsement and advertisement for Little Mermaid this week. That is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7 p.m. here at D.D. Miller. Little Mermaid. Watoma Relays. Next Friday,
Really happening.
April 24th. We have an early dismissal that day, 12:30, 12:20 at the K4s, and Watoma Relays starts at
Field events at 9 as well. Javelin starts at 9:30, running at 11:30. And if anybody wants to help out, it won't be snowing.
Okay.
Ooh.
Then I mentioned the part about the budget work session, but that budget work session here, April 27th, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. So up a half hour for board budget work session. And then we will have one more public board meeting, or regular board meeting to announce this, but it's going to be really close afterwards. The retirement celebration for this year's retirees will be here in the high school commons Wednesday, May 13th, 3:45 to 5 p.m. That is an open house format, so the public is invited to come and honor our retirees. We'll get some information out, kind of publicizing that as well, but you heard it here first.
Okay. And what time did you say that is?
3:45 to 5 p.m. is the open house.
Governor's luncheon.
Yes, hang on. That is on I gotta look at my own
Fifth?
calendar.
May 5.
May 5th, Governor's Luncheon, 11:30 a.m. across the street at Lake Area. Thanks for that reminder, and I
Okay.
know Tiffany's going, so.
Board report to the president or to the superintendent? Okay. Election update?
Yes, just a note there, we received one petition back for our open position. Rochelle Rossman will continue on the board for 3 years. So we will not have an election for the school board on June 2nd.
Okay, that's good. At this point, at 7:04, I will declare us into executive session.
Need a motion to go in.
We do need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved by Rossman, second by Rammel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Note, the only possible action after executive session would be approval of the negotiated agreement, so. That's if we can agree.
That's it. We agree.